I'm here with Quinn Hughes, the former NHL coach and the former player director of Toronto Maple Leafs. Tell me a little bit about what have you been doing here in Sweden for this weekend?
Well, this weekend we have our CAA satellite camp, and it's the first opportunity for me to really get to know the next age group. So, for instance, this weekend we had the 2002 and the 2003 date of birth players, an exceptional group of players. So it gives me the opportunity to have dinner with them and spend time with them both on the ice and off the ice, and do a lot of the fundamental stuff that we do over in the States, on ice drills, some mini games, some skill development, but more importantly, the conversations and the conversations that we have off the ice are more important than the things that we actually do on the ice.
So it's also a preparation for the upcoming draft for the 2002s and 2003s in 1 year and 2 years' time.
We try to teach the kids how to become advocates for themselves, how to run their own business, how to empower themselves, and how to navigate their career. Navigate their career with teammates, with coaches, with general managers, and how to maximize their abilities. There's so much that goes on the mental side of things. It's not just the physical, but we teach the kids that the brain controls the body. And we try to talk about how your attitude is so important and your outlook is so important, and how you see things through a lens. And the mental side of things is so important to maximize your physical abilities.
And when we talk about that, right now you as a parent is going through a big hype regarding your son for becoming draft. How is that to watch as a parent and to support him?
Well, that's just it. It's just support. It's a little bit of guidance. It's a little bit of advice along the way. But he's off at the World Championships right now, and it has nothing to do with the draft. It simply has to do with the experience of hanging out with NHL coaches and players, and being on the bus, and in restaurants, and in being in practices and locker rooms with National Hockey League players. So Quinn, his brother, was at the Worlds last year and got that same experience. And the draft that's just a number. And wherever he falls. If that's not the issue. That's not the important point. It's just gathering information and experience so that you can just keep improving and getting better every day.
And if we are talking about a number, as you mentioned, right now he's supposed to be number 1 and be picked by New Jersey. If that's happened, what do you think about his future in New Jersey?
That's terrific. They have Stanley Cup banners, and they have Hall of Fame banners, and they have a rich tradition, and they have great personnel and great coaches. It would be a great spot. It's in the New York metropolitan area, and they've got a good young nucleus of players. So in so many ways, it'd be a perfect spot.
Do you think there are some opportunities that New Jersey will pick Kappo and Jack will go to Rangers instead?
Well, I have no idea. That's up to the teams. The teams will make those decisions and choices, and whatever works for them then will work for us. We have all the confidence in the process, and these are professionals, and they scout often. And they'll get it right. And quite frankly, New York's a great choice too. It's another great opportunity with an original 6 team. So both organizations are wonderful spots.
And you have your other son, Quinn, in Vancouver, and he played around 5 games this NHL season direct from the university. Can you explain a little bit about his time right now in Vancouver, what he has experienced?
He had a wonderful month in Vancouver. Just again, experiences and getting to know the coaches, getting to know the city, having the opportunity to play 5 NHL games. I think it was 3 at home and 2 on the road. And his teammates took care of him. And it was just an opportunity for him to really just start to develop relationships with people and see how the league operates. So it was very beneficial. He enjoyed his time. Then he went back to school and got 9 more credits at the University of Michigan. So he handled the academics as well from Vancouver. And so we're really happy with the process.
When we are talking about to learn to know people in Vancouver, both Quinn is there. We have as well Elias Pettersson there. What do you think about their future together and Vancouver's future?
Well, again, it's another team with a lot of bright young players and exciting players, and obviously highly skilled players. So these things take time to build, and so they're building it, and they're going to get it right. They're still looking for more pieces, I assume, but the Pettersson's a lot of fun to watch, and I think for about 80 days he was one of the best players in the league. So I suspect he'll have a great World Championships, and I know Quinn enjoyed his time with Petey.
That sounds very good for the future. If we go backwards a little bit and talk about the past, you have been in Sweden for a season. Can you tell me a little bit about that when you were in Piteå?
I played in Piteå when I was 21 or 22 years old for Lars Lindgren. And he was the coach, and I was a player on his team. It snowed a lot, and it was dark. I went to Kiruna. I went to a lot of interesting places. It was a great experience. And I recall Mikael Renberg was 17 years old, and he sat next to me in the locker room. He was just a young player before he started his career. And there were quite a few players that went on to play in Luleå after that year. It was an enjoyable time. It was a great experience.
So how come that you ended up in Piteå?
I don't know. That's a very good question. I think Piteå, they called up USA Hockey or something, and they were looking for a puck-moving power play type defenseman, and it seemed like a good idea, and it was an opportunity, so I went.
That sounds good, and we can also Mikael Renberg can also thank you for the mentorship in Piteå and his career onwards.
Yeah, it was a great time, and I ate a lot of pult.
Together with Mikael Renberg.
Occasionally, but it was a nice little town, and it was quite enjoyable.
You are right now with CAA. What do you think about the future there? You continue to teach and to learn the young talents. How do you see your own future? Do you want to continue here, or do you still have a plan to go back to the NHL clubs?
No, I really enjoy the people that I work with, and Klaus and Peter Werner, and Pappa and JP Barry, and they have a vision. And we have a player development department within our hockey division, and what we do is we're responsible for servicing our clients. And so here we are with 2003s, and 1 year ago this time I was with Lucas Raymond. So what we do is we develop relationships with all the boys, and we try to help navigate their careers. We leave them in Sweden for a significant amount of time, and then at the right opportunity we might send some over to North America to play, obviously, in the National League or the American Hockey League, sometimes the CHL, sometimes college hockey, or simply we just leave them here in Sweden and let them develop. let them develop their fundamentals. You have such a good system here in terms of practice game ratio, and the Swedes do a great job at developing hockey players. So in a lot of ways, we like to be patient and leave them in their respective organizations and let the coaches do their thing.
That sounds good. And one of the players that you mentioned here that has developed during the season and was scored 3 goals in the final in the Junior 18s, Lucas Raymond. What can you say about him as he's a part of the CAA?
Well, again, I watched him I watched him before I met him, and then when you meet them and you go on the ice with them, you see them entirely different. And when I got on the ice a year ago with Lucas, I could immediately see the creativity and the skill and how his mind functions. It's such a creative mind, and the way he thinks and sees the game, along with his work ethic and his focus and his passion for the game. And so, he obviously had a wonderful U18, and that's just all part of the journey, and it's all part of the process. And so he's on his way, and all these experiences along the way build the story. The chapters in the book, and so he's positioning himself well.
Thank you very much, Jim.
Thank you.